Finland is a beautiful country. From the fields and forests of Lapland to the South's Baltic coast, the land of 1,000 lakes boasts wonders, both natural and cultural. As the top-rated nation on the United Nations World Happiness Report every year since 2018, Finland has earned a reputation as a pastoral Scandinavian winter wonderland. And to that, I say, first of all, Finland is not actually Scandinavian, it is Nordic. Apparently there's a difference, don't ask me what it is. And second, that's not too far off. But before you try to enroll your kids in reindeer riding or ice hockey lessons, you should be aware that adjusting to life here can be very challenging, especially if you're from a very different climate or culture like I am. In the first 18 months since I've moved here, it's been pretty tough at times, but also rewarding. But through all that challenge, there was one thing that I got my hands on that made everything seem a lot easier to handle. One thing that, while easy to understand, to attain involves surviving a gauntlet of bureaucratic challenges so time-consuming, it made me want to find the nearest ice hole, jump in, and sink to the very bottom. But fear not, because I today am going to walk you through this process and help you find the key to unlocking life in Finland. Hi there, it's me, Landry, and this is Finlandria, where I share my experiences as an American immigrant living in Finland. I, like a lot of Americans, only had a limited understanding of what Finland was like before I moved here. Like a lot of people, I imagined it as either a social democratic utopia or a cold, dreary, desolate wasteland of eternal winter. However, if you spend any time here beyond what you might experience on a short holiday, you might begin to grasp at the reality of what it's like to live here, both the beautiful and the mundane. What I started to notice in particular was that Finns don't always have a very accurate picture of all of the barriers immigrants have to get over in order to access very basic services that they might take for granted. It's kind of like if Finland were a house that you were moving into, and when you got there, the roommate said, here's your bedroom, here's your set of keys. Oh, and by the way, we do have a full chef's kitchen on the main floor, but unfortunately, we're gonna have you use the hot plate and dirty microwave in the basement. And yes, while there is technically an ensuite attached to your bedroom, it's off limits, so just go to the main floor again, and you can just kind of dunk your head in the toilet if you want to wash up your face. Now, obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but Finland is kind of like that when you first get here. It's a beautiful house with locks on a lot of the doors. However, for all of those locks, it is possible for you to get a key. It involves something so simple that will drastically alter your access to services, make available a wide variety of new tools, and overall seamlessly reduce the friction of simple day-to-day interactions. It's called strong identification. In the simplest, most reductive way to explain it, strong identification is a lot like two-factor authentication. It's a secure way to verify your identity. It means you prove who you are by either providing a PIN or a password that only you know, taking a code from a sheet that only you have access to, or providing some biometric data exclusive to you, like a fingerprint or an iris scan. These things, in conjunction with some fancy schmancy cryptography behind the scenes, provide a strong, secure way to prove you are who you say you are. It's strong. What might seem really simple, like what you do when you log into Twitch or Google every time, is actually highly protected here in Finland because your data is highly centralized. Finland has a large, robust network of state-run services and commercial firms who partner with them, and to make sure that the communication between all these services runs as smooth as possible, they share your data between them. Your date of birth, wherever you live, and more are all linked to your name and social security number, so that whenever you want to access one of the many services that are available here in Finland, there's very little that you actually have to do to make sure that process runs smoothly. Whether it's clearing customs on a package coming from outside the EU to Finland, trying to access your digital health records, registering a kid for daycare services, or just certain mobile payments, all of them will require strong identification. This was particularly tough for me during COVID-19. I moved in the summer of 2021, and Finland had just started issuing their digital COVID vaccine certifications. These were the things that they scanned that allowed you to enter bars or restaurants or other places in public at the height of the pandemic. And because I hadn't gotten my doses in Finland, they wouldn't issue it to me. So I had to wait until I was eligible for my third dose, then go to a place with my CDC vaccine card, which they uploaded to the national database. And then I was able to get my third dose. But I still didn't get the COVID certificate. You see, most people access their COVID certificate and all of their health records via this service called Omakanta. Omakanta is a centralized database where your health records are kept. So you can log on there and see all of your health records digitally, and it's where they store the QR code that they scan for your COVID certificate. But to log into Omakanta, you need strong identification. So I had to wait another week, then go to a library across town on a random day between the hours of 3 and 5 when the date was a prime number, while balancing on a unicycle and children pelted me with snowballs so that they could print out a QR code on a piece of paper for me. I was technically able to get everything that I needed, but there was much more work and time involved. And then the next week, Helsinki announced they were no longer going to be requiring it, because that's the way my life is. A lot of this could have been way easier, and I would have saved a ton of time if I just had strong identification credentials. And once I did get them, it was great. Accessing my health records, paying for things, getting my COVID certificate, all of it was way easier. But after about a week or two of having them, I kind of forgot about it. And I think that's really common. Once you have it, you tend not to stress about all of the things that it allows you to do. And that's extra annoying because actually getting your hands on these credentials is a maddening process. That's why I'm going to walk you through the process of what it was like for me to get strong identification credentials, so that if you want to come to Finland and settle down here, you'll know what to expect and can prepare for the process. I'm going to mention a lot of different agencies and websites and services and things that you'll need to use during this process, so links for all of those will be in the description below the video. I also just want to clarify that if you are coming to Finland and getting settled, your experience may vary and be quite different from mine, especially depending on where you're coming from. People from other nations in the Schengen are probably going to have it the absolute easiest, then people from other nations in the European Union. Because the EU nations already share so much between one another, there's already policies in place that makes documentation and identification terms way easier to navigate. However, if you're coming from somewhere outside of the European Union, like say the United States or anywhere else in the world, strap in, because there's usually a lot of extra hurdles to jump over that people from the EU will have no clue about. Also, I live in the capital region of Finland, in Helsinki, so a lot of my experience is going to be specifically about that process. However, a lot of this stuff is probably going to be pretty similar across Finland. If it's any different, I'm sorry. Just make sure to check every website for the service that you're using at the time and get the precise details about what they'll be expecting from you. Step 1. Obtain a Finnish SIM card and phone number. This one isn't technically absolutely necessary, but I do highly recommend it because a lot of services that you're going to be using in this process and later on when you live here in Finland are going to be texting you codes and things like that to activate things, and not all of them will have the country code available for you to input or change. So it's recommended that you have a Finnish phone number with the country code already on it so that if they need to text you a code, you don't have to worry about it. What I would recommend when you first get here is to go to any of the major grocery stores and get a prepaid cell phone plan. I got the Saunalehti card from the telecom company Elisa, and it was 30-something euro every month, and it gave me unlimited 5G data as well as some texting and calling. It's a really good deal, and they give you a text every month when your plan is about to run out, so you can run to the store and pick up another one. There's several Finnish telecom companies that offer prepaid monthly plans like this, like Elisa, Telia, DNA, and Moi. You can get a more permanent number later on and just put in the new SIM card and it'll replace the one that you get for this part of the process. And that's going to make these first few months a lot easier. So you can check that off your list. Step 2, register with the DVV. So here is where the timing and order of the tasks can get a little wibbly wobbly, but you're generally gonna wanna follow things in this order. First, what you're going to want to do is register with your municipality's Digital and Population Services Agency, or DVV. Basically, you are just letting the municipal government know where you live and your address so that they can add you to the population registry. Go on the website as soon as you can when you get here and make an appointment to go. Now, if you're coming to Finland to study at an institute of higher learning, there might be a booth for the DVV set up at a welcome event or a new student orientation where you can do this step without having to go to their office. And if they are there, you should do this. They tend to prioritize new students. I learned this the hard way because my wife attended her new student orientation, and as such, they prioritized her application. However, because I'm not a student, I had to make an appointment and I had to wait several weeks for there to be an opening for me. When you do end up going to the DVV, they're gonna want some pretty basic and general information about you to start this process. It should be pretty easy, and when you're done, after the 15 minutes or so that it takes, they'll give you a piece of paper letting you know that you've started the process and are going to be added to the Population Services Bureau. This is important. Keep this sheet of paper. We're gonna need it for later, so just put a pin in that. It's gonna take a good amount of time for them to add your information to the population registry. For instance, they told me it would take 4 to 6 weeks from the day of my appointment, and it actually took 9 for me to get confirmation. My wife, who was studying and had been in Finland previously on a study abroad program, got her confirmation within only a couple of weeks because, once again, they prioritize students. So keep this in mind. But once you've had this appointment, you can check this off your list. Step 3, open a Finnish bank account. Now, it might seem that because the government is the one that is accessing your data for a lot of these services, that they're going to be the ones that issue you your strong identification credentials. However, in practice, strong identification is actually most commonly issued by banks. The easiest and most de facto way to obtain them is by opening a Finnish bank account. These are some of the big nationwide banks here in Finland, and it's more than likely that one of these will be close to you. So check with them about available times and appointments, and I'm sure you'll be able to make it work. Now, when you meet with them, they are more than likely going to ask if you have registered with the DVV. This is where that sheet of paper comes in. Even if you have not gotten the official confirmation email that you have been added to the registry, they will likely take that piece of paper that we put a pin in earlier and use that as proof that you have attempted to register. So bring that out, show it to them, and it should suffice. Once all that's done, they should be able to issue you a debit card and open your account and all that jazz. And this is the third thing that on the list you can check. Here's the thing though, just because you have a Finnish bank account doesn't mean that they're going to give you the strong identification credentials. To do that, you have to have a Finnish ID card. And you might be asking yourself,
well, why didn't we get a Finnish ID card first if you have to have that to get the strong identification?
And to that I would say, do you know something I don't know? Is there some Finnish government bureaucracy secret that you've unlocked? Why are you watching this video? Why am I getting this kind of attitude from you? Why don't you take a seat? Step 4, get a Finnish ID card. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to the police department's website and check if they have times available for an appointment. The police are going to be who actually issue your ID card to you. Now, you do have to have the official confirmation email from the DVV saying you have been added to the population registry before you can complete this part of the process. So you're probably gonna have to wait several weeks in order to do so, which is good because there's another secret step to this process that you then have to go through. Getting a photo taken for your ID. Unlike in the United States where they take your picture at the DMV, they will not do this at the police station for you. You're going to need to go to a photo store or someplace that takes passport and ID photos, have them take it, they'll print them out for you, or there are lots of little photo booth looking places scattered around shopping centers in a lot of towns, and you can actually go in there and they will walk you through the process of getting your photo taken and sending it off to the police for approval without you having to do anything extra. Find one of these options and then get your photo approved by the police. It only took a couple days for me to get that myself. Once you have the photo approved and the appointment, just wait until that comes, and it will take all of 5 minutes and paying a small fee, and you will have registered to get a Finnish ID card. All that's left to do now is wait for it to arrive, and voila, you can check this off. Not quite, you fool. Because you know what you have to actually pick up your Finnish ID card once they've shipped it to you? You need a Finnish ID card. That's right, you have to have a Finnish ID card to pick up a Finnish ID card. The snake eats its own tail. Time, a flat circle, folds in on itself in a dizzying array of fractals. If Finland is a house, and this is the key, they are building the house with you inside of it. Extra locked doors are popping up everywhere. It seems physically impossible, like the house is bigger on the inside. And then another pops up, and with each threshold crossed, a new forking path is discovered. A labyrinth unfolds before you, the intertwining paths winding around and in on themselves, only to find yourself at a new nexus. You follow each around and around as you go further inside, getting lost in the maze, the dark growing longer and longer, the air colder and colder, until you find yourself inebriated by loneliness. Inside your home, yet still so far removed from the world that you degrade. Become an animal, unintelligible to those who wander into your new den. A minotaur at the center, guarding nothing, lost to your journey. You mutter, flare, rage, charge at any who cross your path. But if you have a friend, you can just ask them to go with you and they can get the ID as long as you sign a piece of paper saying it's okay to do so. If you don't have any Finnish friends, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe get a colleague or someone from a school program that you're working with. Maybe a neighbor who can do it for you if you're one of the strange people that actually wants to acknowledge their existence here. Good luck on that. It's just one of the things you gotta deal with. Once you figure that out, check. Step 5, get strong identification credentials. Once you have your Finnish ID card, you can go back to your bank and they will help get your strong identification established. They'll have you make up a PIN, log into their app more than likely, and they'll also provide you this sheet covered in codes. While this might look like some weird zodiac cipher at first, it's basically a fail-safe way of allowing you to use your strong identification if for some reason the first manner of username and PIN doesn't work. They'll simply tell you to go to line 217 and you'll find the 4-digit code on that line that is specifically generated for you and you alone. Enter it and voila! You have been strongly identified. This one isn't mine, it's just a generic sheet because you are not supposed to show your secret sheet to anyone. It has all of these codes that are made just for you, and every one is different. They even told me when I got it, don't share it with anybody, including your wife.
Don't tell your wife anything.
They take security pretty seriously here in Finland, and I think it works. And you've done it! You finally have the key to unlocking life in Finland. Now all you have to do is learn a notoriously challenging language, make friends in a historically extremely reserved culture, and make it through a bitter and dark, cold, long winter, and maybe, just maybe, you'll decide to stay. As you might have noticed, a lot of the work that goes into this process isn't exactly difficult, it's just tedious and annoying. Make an appointment, wait a few weeks, get a piece of paper that you have to go across town to get stamped so you can get a number, and wait for an email so that you can make another appointment and pay a fee to get something else stamped before you finally get another email. On its face, it feels like a lot of work for nothing special, but it is an important process if you want to set down some roots and stay here long term. Finland is increasingly relying on digital services, and in turn, strong identification to access them. Almost all facets of life utilize them somehow. For instance, while they still issue plenty of paper notes, it's become an almost cashless society, with mobile and touchless payments more and more becoming the norm in day-to-day interactions. While this is really cool and makes certain things seamless in practice, any change like that is bound to leave some people behind. Other than immigrants like me who might have a hard time getting into the system, older people, people with disabilities, the homeless, people with criminal histories, and people who have difficulty using or getting access to technology can almost get soft-locked out of these services. It's technically possible to access them, but there's so many extra hurdles that it becomes a little bit unreasonable. When you look at all of this in totality, it's really understandable that you might ask, what's the point? Is all of this really worth it? And I guess the answer for me is, I think so. Could the process be streamlined? Of course. Do I think it should be done away with entirely? No way. Strong identification and all of the things that it makes available make certain things that are really cumbersome and annoying in the States where I used to live very easy and much less annoying here in Finland. And I might want to make another video in the future about all of the things that it allows you to do. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? What I gain via seamless and fast services eventually outweighs what I lose via time and what some might see as the government taking your data. If you don't like bureaucracy on principle, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you value social services that, I would argue, are equitably and efficiently used in ways to benefit the day-to-day lives of most people instead of just a select few, you might agree. It might be tough and annoying to get this stuff, but once you get it, it's pretty strong. But what do you think? Does all of this sound worth it? Do you have any questions about this process? Have you gone through it and had a different experience? If so, let me know in the comments. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you want more videos like this, or about life in Finland in general, make sure to like and subscribe so that you get notifications every time I upload. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Moikka!